What is up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. This is my betting breakdown video for UFC Vegas 84. We got Magomed Ankalaev going against Johnny Walker 2.
I need all the wins, yeah. All that and all that is. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out.
And we are back for the first betting breakdown video of 2024. This week we are breaking down UFC Vegas 84, which was a 12-fight card. Now an 11-fight card. We did lose Manel Kape, Matheus Nicolau, which sucks. Manel Kape was my biggest bet of the card. I liked him a lot this week, so that spot falling off kind of sucks a lot. And plus I wanted to see the fight to begin with, but we still have 11 fights. I think it's a really good card, stacked from top to bottom. Really looking forward to pretty much every single fight. And like the fight I'm least looking forward to is the main event, which kind of shows you just how good this card is, I think. So looking forward to breaking it down. As always, going to be breaking down these fights from a betting perspective and a betting perspective only. If you do want a further, more in-depth breakdown on why I like which fighter, on why I'm betting what, I did post a full card breakdown and prediction video earlier in the week, and then I also did a final thoughts live stream going fight by fight, giving some extra thoughts there. But yeah, going to be talking about these fights from a betting perspective. And this is it's a tough week. It's the first week of the year. It's a week where these lines have been out for almost a month. They've just been consistently getting smashed the last couple of weeks. We have a ton of blown out lines. We have a ton of big favorites that probably shouldn't be this big of a favorite. We have a ton of really wide violence lines. Like there were some violence lines that opened up minus 1,600 for the Weston Wilson fight, minus 1,400 for the Tom Nolan fight, minus 1,400 for the Haas fight, and even the main event opened up minus 1,000 for the fight doesn't go to decisions. So yeah, very, very chalky week. But we're going to try to find some value out of all this chalk. So yeah, before we get into it, if you guys could please leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. It is always much appreciated. And like I said, I'm looking forward to being back for 2024, hoping to make it a great year. Last year was my best year since I've started tracking, since I've started doing YouTube, and hoping to keep the momentum rolling, keep the strategy the same, and hopefully win some bets. And it all starts here with UFC Vegas 84. So we'll start with the first fight of the card. We got Joshua Van going against Felipe Bunes. Joshua Van minus 250, Felipe Bunes plus 210. People are very high on Joshua Van, including myself. This guy's 22 years old. I think he has a really high ceiling in the UFC. This price tag, though, it does concern me because Felipe Bunes, he's good. This is a guy who's making his debut at 34 years old, but he's fought some good guys outside the UFC. He's well-rounded. He's a good striker, and he's a very, very dangerous grappler, and that's, Joshua Van's only loss comes by submission. So, in theory, if Felipe Bunes does get this fight down to the mat, he could potentially be live for a sub. Felipe Bunes by sub is something that potentially sticks out as like a long shot prop, but I'm going to be staying away from this one. I'm going to say Van does get it done. I think he has been working on that wrestling, that grappling. I think that's all he's working on nowadays, but he's still fairly new to MMA. I think he made his MMA debut like 2018, 2019, not too long ago, Joshua Van. So as long as he keeps us on the feet, he should be the higher volume striker. I love the guy's volume. He can go a full 3 rounds. We've seen that in the UFC. So I'm kind of leaning Van by decision, but I don't like the price tag of minus 250. I think Felipe Bunes could make this very, very competitive depending on the game plan. So easy fight for me to stay away from. Next, we got Tom Nolan going against Nicholas Moda. It's a violent fight here. The fight doesn't go to decision, opened up minus 1,400. And I think the under 1.5 is a potential parlay piece this week. I do a couple DGen parlays on my website. I do a main card parlay, a prelim parlay, and then a Hail Mary parlay. And I have the under 1.5 in a couple of those parlays there. I think the under 1.5 is a solid parlay piece. I don't see this fight going 7.5 minutes. Both these guys very defensively irresponsible. I would caution anybody laying minus 350 on Tom Nolan. This is the guy that does have 6 fights. He's fought nobody, and he's very, very hittable. Like, he throws all caution to the wind. He doesn't mind getting hit in the face, and Nicholas Moda, the one thing he does do is hit hard. But at the same time, it's hard to have any trust in Nicholas Moda, who just... First of all, he's very, very chinny. Second of all, it looks like he's kind of lacking confidence. The Trey Ogden fight was a terrible look. So I think likely scenario, Tom Nolan goes out there, wins this fight by first round knockout, but the fight doesn't go like minus 1,400. And like I said, even the under 1.5 is like minus 280 at this point. I think the under is a parlay piece, and we'll leave it at that. All right, next we got my first official play of the week. We got Gene Silva going against Weston Wilson. The fight doesn't go opened up minus 1,600. It's now minus 1,400. So if you guys have BetRivers Sportsbook, they have a line that I do like that is a lot different than some other books. I think on DraftKings Sportsbook, the fight won't start round 2, something crazy like minus 270. But if you guys have BetRivers, the fight won't start round 2 is minus 152. I took a shot on that 1 unit. This is a guy in Weston Wilson who's not seen a second round in like 13 fights. It's been a long time, and we have a striker versus grappler matchup here where Weston Wilson, if the fight hits the ground, he could be potentially live for the sub or get subbed himself, or if this fight's on the feet, it's Gene Silva all day. Gene Silva's a minus 900 favorite. I think that's pretty hilarious considering he was an underdog on the Contender Series, but I think it just goes to show you that Weston Wilson probably does not belong in the UFC, and just like last fight, I think Gene Silva gets that first round knockout. Fight won't start round 2, 1 unit, minus 152 for me. If you guys are looking for a crazy, wild sprinkle, Weston Wilson by first round sub plus 3,300 on Bet365. I think that's literally his money line, but he's so bad that I don't really want to even touch that. So fight won't start round 2. I'm hoping somebody gets served, and I think that somebody is one Weston Wilson. Moving on, we got Farid Boserat going against Taylor Lapis. Very frustrating betting spot for me because I had the plus 3.5 point spread circled all week for Taylor Lapis, but apparently like everybody else did as well. It's a very popular play in the community, it looks like, but it's a trash line. I mean, DraftKings Sportsbook has the plus 3.5 point spread at minus 120. Like that's trash. Yeah, Lapis is up like a plus 250 underdog. So I was hoping to get some honestly good plus money on that plus 3.5 point spread, but that's just not the case. I'm not playing a point spread bet at minus 120. I think it probably hits, but with these judges, like who knows? Like I could see a judge giving a 30-27 to Boserat for no reason. So I think it's a fight where Boserat probably wins, but I think it's going to be a lot closer than this line does indicate. And I think the Boserat parlayers will be sweating just a tad. So, but yeah, the plus 3.5 at minus 120. I was hoping for a much better price tag than that. Easy pass for me. Next, we got Marcus McGee going against Gaston Balanos. Another bet here I have is Marcus McGee by sub is plus 310. I have a half unit on that. The reason being is he a grappler? No. But, Gaston Balanos has the worst ground game I've ever seen. I mean, guys are taking him down. Guys are subbing him with ease. He has 2 submission losses. I don't think he has a great ground game. And Marcus McGee, he doesn't go for takedowns, but you would think, right? I mean, you would think, he's at a great gym, MMA lab with a bunch of good grapplers, good wrestlers, good coaches. You would think that they kind of looked into Balanos and saw, hey, this guy's an incredible striker. Let's take him down because he looks terrible off his back. And if McGee does grapple here, I think he subs him easy. I think it's extremely easy. The question is he going to grapple? And that's why I'm not going too crazy on it. If he does grapple, I think he subs him pretty easy. If he doesn't grapple, this fight's going to be competitive. Balanos is a very popular underdog this week, and I think a lot of that has to do with McGee. People think McGee won't grapple, which there's a good chance he might not. But if he does, I think he subs this guy very, very quickly. I didn't want to mess around with the round props. I could see it being in the first, second, or third. I kind of lean late, but I'm just taking the sub prop in general, plus 310. I could also see a club and sub like we saw in the Journey Newson fight. Balanos, he's never been knocked out, but he has been subbed twice. I think his ground game's a liability, and I'm thinking McGee might be able to test that here. So we'll see. Now, I'm not going crazy on it, only a half unit, but plus 310 I think is a solid number there, and I think it's a solid path for Marcus McGee. Clear as day. Let's see if he uses it. Next, we got Matthew Semelsberger going against Preston Parsons. Yeah, I like violence here. So the fight doesn't go to decision, opened at minus 325, and obviously that was way too wide, and now it is minus 175. Money's been coming in on the overs, and the fight goes to decision. And I like violence. I mean, this is a striker versus grappler matchup where on the feet, Semelsberger is going to destroy Preston Parsons. I mean, it's not even remotely competitive. Parsons is a walking punching bag. I question the chin, and Semelsberger is honestly one of the hardest hitters in the division. This guy Semelsberger has 10 knockdowns in the UFC. It's ridiculous. And if this fight's on the feet at any point in time, Parsons is going to be in trouble. On the flip side, if Parsons gets on top, he's very aggressive. He's very active with the submission game. Preston Parsons has a 90% submission rate, and the one win he won by decision, he attempted like 5 subs. So I think it's Semelsberger by knockout, Parsons by submission, and the under 2.5 at minus 152. I put a unit on it. I like violence here. I think somebody gets served, whether it's Semelsberger KO or Parsons submission. I think the Parsons late sub props are okay. The only thing I don't like about him, I was looking through Parsons' record, the majority of his submission wins actually do come in the first round, and I don't think he has any third round subs, so I kind of stayed away from those. What I did do, though, was I took a half unit shot on Matthew Semelsberger to win by first round knockout at plus 500. I feel like this could look a little bit like the D-Rod fight, where, as we know, every fight takes place starting on the feet, and on the feet, it's, like I said, it's not even close. Semelsberger can take this guy's head off. Obviously, Parsons does have a path to victory. That's why this line's close, but, I think Semelsberger's going to have some opportunities here early on to find that chin. So, Semelsberger first round KO plus 500, I think it's a generous number. I think that's his win condition. Half a unit plus 500, and then also the under 2.5 first and foremost, 1 unit minus 152. Next, we got Waldo Cortez-Acosta going against Andrei Arlovski. Since the Manel Kopp fight fell off, this is now my biggest play of the week. And I like Waldo Cortez-Acosta here quite a bit, more specifically inside the distance, and even more specifically by KO. Minus 155 for the knockout prop for Waldo Cortez-Acosta. I have 1.5 units on it, again, making it the biggest play of the day. Arlovski's been knocked out 12 times. Anytime Arlovski fights somebody that's halfway decent, he gets finished brutally, and Dontel Mays. I mean, Dontel Mays knocked this guy out under 1.5 rounds in his last fight. If you're getting knocked out by Dontel Mays, I'm not even sure what Waldo Cortez-Acosta is going to do to you. Horrible look. Arlovski's only getting older. He's only taking more damage. I think Waldo Cortez-Acosta is getting Arlovski at the perfect time here, and if he does not knock out Andrei Arlovski, he should be ashamed of himself, and I don't know how he's going to look in the mirror, knowing that Dontel Mays knocked Arlovski out and he didn't. So, yeah, I like this play a lot. I think he sparks Arlovski. I didn't want to mess around with a round. I could see first, second, or even third. I do lean like first or second, but you never know. Just give me the KO minus 155. I think it's generous considering he's minus 750. So Waldo Cortez-Acosta KO for me. Moving on, we have the 1-800-GAMBLER fight of the week, which just so happens to be like the most bet on fight of the week. Like every time I jump on Twitter, I see somebody betting on Phil Hawes, and I mean, I get it. Phil Hawes is the much better fighter. It's just Phil Hawes cannot take a punch, and that's kind of concerning considering he's going against a murderous power puncher and Bruno Ferreira. I don't know. I mean, I can see this fight playing out a bunch of different ways. I think Ferreira could knock out Hawes early. I think Hawes could potentially come in here with a game plan of, hey, I'm getting knocked out by everybody. I'm going to wrestle and make this a boring fight. Kind of like he did in the Imavov fight. But even in that fight, he was like wobbling around the cage the entire time. I can't trust the chin of Hawes. If I could, I'd be betting him here, no problem. Skill for skill, it's Phil Hawes all day. It's just, no durability is completely taking me off this fight. So I think it's one of those fights where Hawes probably is looking good up until he gets knocked out, like always. And I think Ferreira probably knocks him out, but we're not getting a good price tag on that. Ferreira inside the distance is literally minus 125. His money line is minus 125. Yikes. Moving on, we got Ricky Simone going against Mario Bautista. And yeah, I mean, I like Simone here, but I think the line's about right. I mean, minus 185 seems good to me. Maybe even a little bit wide, because Bautista's no joke. Like, Bautista's a guy that's a young guy making a lot of improvements. On the feet, he's probably the better striker with more volume. And Bautista can wrestle, he can grapple, but I just feel like Ricky Simone can wrestle better. He's a better grappler. I think he has better cardio. And I think this fight primarily does play out in the mat. I think these guys are going to wrestle here, and I just don't see anybody, even like Merab, didn't really out-wrestle Ricky Simone. Rob got him down a couple times, but was not able to hold him down, whereas Bautista was out-wrestled a little bit by Damon Blackshear and was taken down a couple times by Jay Perrin. I think Simone goes out there and gets, a good amount of takedowns and wins a decision, but, minus 185, I think the line should be right around there. I don't think there's much of an edge at this price tag. If you got in at minus 150, I think that's solid, but minus 185, I'm okay. Moving on, we got Gabriel Benitez going against Jim Miller. And I do like a spot here. So I have 0.75 units on Jim Miller to win in rounds 1 or round 2 at plus 175. The reason being is Jim Miller in his last 11 fights, 9 of those none of his finished wins have come in the first or second round. It used to be like Jim Miller round 1 or bust, but nowadays he's, getting round 2 finishes. So, I want the round 2 and round 1 combined there because he can do both. And like I said, Jim Miller has not won a decision. It's been a long time. It's been years since Jim Miller's won a decision. It's been years since Jim Miller's won in the 3rd round. So if Jim Miller is going to win, which a lot of people think so, I haven't really seen anybody, taking Gabriel Benitez, and Jim Miller is a -150, why not get him at his best win condition, which I do think is a early finish. Benitez has been finished early his last couple fights. I don't think the durability is there for Benitez. He's 35 years old, younger than Miller, but still, I think the durability is waning a little bit. He's been taking long layoffs. Jim Miller's been the more active fighter. Jim Miller's super durable still. I think it's a good fight for Jim Miller to go out there and get a finish. So Jim Miller, rounds 1 or round 2, +175 for 0.75 units there. And then we got the main event, Magomed Ankalaev going against Johnny Walker. I didn't mind the over 1.5 earlier in the week, like -140 it was, but now it's -180, which, this fight could end like in the first couple minutes. It's the Johnny Walker fight. He could get knocked out, but I think the more likely scenario is Ankalaev does fight smart, does fight boring, gets the fight to the cage, gets the fight down to the mat, and kind of grinds it out, maybe getting a finish along the way. Nothing much really sticking out. I don't want to bet Ankalaev at -550, and I don't really want to bet Johnny Walker either, to be honest. Not too big of a fan of this main event. So, yeah, going to be passing on the main event, and looking forward to next week's main event a lot more for UFC 297. So, there you guys have it. 6 bets for this week, keeping it super light. I like next week a lot more. UFC 297, a lot of underdogs sticking out next week for 297. So I'll be more aggressive next week. This week, first week back, a lot of these lines blown out, a lot of lines that are way too wide. Kind of tough to find value, but I found some spots that I think I do like. Best of luck, everybody, for UFC Vegas 84. Don't go too crazy. We have a ton of cards to go this year, so don't go too crazy. But guys, best of luck. Check out the Best Bet show tomorrow. I'll be going live around 4 o'clock Eastern time for some best bet. And that's about it, guys. Best of luck. Subscribe, like, and we'll talk to you guys very soon. See you later.